The Fillmore Central Falcons stayed unbeaten last week with a 12-6 victory, getting the rivalry win over Rushford Peterson last week. Head coach Chris Mensink joining us, and independent of the result of the game, just the way Mother Nature treated you last week, I'd imagine that's a game that those that were involved with it they're going to remember it for quite some time. Would that be fair to say?
That would be very fair to say, but boy, our Falcon faithful stayed there throughout the game, and we still had quite a crowd on hand. So we appreciate that support. And yeah, like you said, that's one that the kids and everybody, the referees and all the way down the line, that'll remember for a long time.
How'd you get it done?
Well, yeah, it came down to, in a game like that, the weather kind of neutralizes a lot of things you want to do. So you had to hang on to the ball, number one, and boy, there were some different decisions that had to be made, because sometimes punting the ball on fourth down wasn't the best decision because of the long snap and all the things that had to go right, and hanging on to the ball and that kind of thing. We had one where we did punt it down to their 1 yard line, and actually one of our guys lined up, he was in the backfield, not quite on the line, so we had to repunt it, and then they end up getting the ball on the 29 yard line or something. It was like a 70 some yard swing in field position. So a lot of those things, you had to approach a little different and think about it a little differently. So, but turnovers again, there was 10 turnovers in the game. We had 3, they had 7. So that was a big piece. And we blocked a punt and caught it and ran it in. And I think this might be the first time in my career where you look at the offensive stats and one team had about 6 yards and it says negative after you take into account all the snaps over the head and things like that. But not much offense, but to get the win, that's the main thing.
When you go about assessing a game like that, do you change the way you assess it with the challenges that Mother Nature gave you last week?
Oh, I think so. It, you look at your offensive line and trying to get footing, and yeah, they might have known where they needed to get, but just had a hard time getting there. And it definitely made the defenses shine for sure, and kids tackled well. But I guess I will say, if you look at the drive summaries, Rushford did not have a drive that was longer than 3 plays. So a lot of 3 and out. So doing the job and tackling in that situation was good. We did have a 9-play drive and a 7-play drive. So we're able to sustain a few things at times, even with those elements. So I'm proud of our kids' effort, and they kept battling, and their attitude stayed great all night. It's one of those things where, it's easy to get frustrated. So, those little things in character and staying with it and continuing to battle, those are things that I think you really need to evaluate in a night like that.
And sometimes in my mind, defense is sometimes even more challenging on a night like that, because at least the offense knows where they're going. The defense has to react to it, which thus creates the availability to slip a little bit more on that side of the ball as compared to the offensive side of the ball. And that kind of speaks to your defensive performance that much more. Is that fair?
That's very fair, and that was definitely a focus this week, because we had, what I tell you, 41 missed tackles the week before against a team like BA on a drier track. But yeah, for our kids to keep their feet underneath them and make tackles and force those 3 and outs, that's definitely a tribute to our kids.
How do you go about improving tackling in practice? Because obviously the approach to practice is different than it was 10, 15, 20 years ago. How do you go about doing improving that aspect of your game, and knowing the fact that you can't just beat each other up 4 days a week in practice?
Right. Staying healthy is the main thing, but you do have to practice those skills. So you are allowed a certain amount of contact. So there's certain times where we might have maybe one of our 4 drills in our tackling station might be a live drill, but we do a lot of things on dummies. We do a lot of things on crash pads, but getting their technique and dropping your hips and thud, whether it's wrapping up and getting kids in the right position, making sure you're tracking the correct hip and your head's in the right position and your pad level's at the right level. Those are things that we definitely stress in our tackling stations.
And is it just a case of developing muscle memory in a lot of that work?
It is, for sure. Yep. Going through those reps and doing it multiple times, repetition's the mother of learning, right? So earlier in the year, and I think earlier in your career as you're a younger guy, you always have a tendency to tackle high. And even I think our varsity was doing that earlier in the year. So getting those kids to lower their pad level and look at the right thing and get their eyes right, that's a big piece of it.
And this week, you're back on the road. You travel over to Winona Cotter. What are you expecting Friday night?
Yeah, Cotter's got some good athletes. They like to spread it out. They got a great receiver, and their quarterback throws a nice ball. So we're excited for the opportunity. It's going to be a later kickoff this week. Winona State has a soccer game at 5. So the kickoff is going to be 8:00 p.m. at the Winona State field. So we're looking forward to that. What a great facility, and it'll be a good challenge and opportunity for our kids.
All right, and hopefully it's a little bit drier come this week. Granted, field turf will help that out if Mother Nature throws you a curveball this week. But nonetheless, hopefully you can keep the winning ways going. Keep your kids healthy. We wish best of luck, Coach.
Yeah, thank you. And I also want to just commend the communities of Rushford and our community at Fillmore Central. It was our tackle cancer game, and the numbers are still coming in, but it looks like it's going to be close to $5,000 we raised for that worthy cause. So I want to commend everybody that was involved with that event, and the organizers and the people that showed up.
And everybody's walking away a winner when it comes to stuff like that. As Chris Mensink joins us, Fillmore Central coach, they head to Winona Cotter this week, trying to stay unbeaten on the season.